We've all been there. Someone at work blurts out something baffling, or a stranger on the subway does something that leaves us shaking our heads. And let's be honest, we ourselves have had those moments where we go, "That was dumb of me." But what is stupidity, really? How can we tell when someone is actually being stupid, as opposed to just being wrong, confused, or uninformed? For centuries, thinkers have grappled with the nature of ignorance, the limits of knowledge, and the very definition of what it means to be stupid. Is it a lack of intelligence, a moral failing, or something else entirely? Hello, my name is Jacob, and today let's explore 5 philosophical perspectives on this ubiquitous and complex human trait. Number 1. The Socratic ignorance. Knowing what you don't know. Perhaps the most foundational philosophical stance on intelligence, and its opposite, comes from Socrates. Socrates was a Greek philosopher from Athens, active in the 5th century BCE, around 470 to 399 BCE. He is often considered the father of Western philosophy, and what we know of his ideas comes mainly from the dialogues of his student Plato. His point of view on stupidity comes from his famous assertion, "I know that I know nothing," which wasn't a declaration of personal idiocy, but a profound insight into the vastness of ignorance. True wisdom, for Socrates, lies not in accumulating facts, but in recognizing the boundaries of one's own knowledge. Stupidity, in this light, could be defined as the unacknowledged absence of knowledge, the arrogant conviction of knowing what one does not. The truly intelligent are aware of their limitations, while the foolish are blissfully ignorant of them. For example, a business executive rejects advice from cybersecurity experts, insisting their company is too small to be hacked or that their documents aren't valuable. They don't consider how hackers might actually view their business or what creative ways they might exploit those so-called unimportant documents. Number 2. Aristotle's practical wisdom, phronesis. The absence of good judgment. While intelligence for Aristotle often involved theoretical reasoning, he also emphasized practical wisdom. Phronesis. Aristotle was a Greek philosopher and scientist, born in 384 BCE. He studied under Plato and later tutored Alexander the Great. His writings cover a staggering range of subjects, from ethics and politics to biology and logic. Aristotle's entry on stupidity lies in his distinction between theoretical wisdom, Sophia, and practical wisdom, phronesis. Phronesis is the ability to discern the right course of action in complex, real-world situations. Stupidity, in this Aristotelian sense, is not necessarily a lack of book learning, but a deficiency in good judgment. It's the inability to apply knowledge effectively, make sensible decisions, or understand the nuances of human interaction. A fool might know the theory of something, but be utterly incapable of executing it. For example, a highly educated doctor chain smokes and ignores basic health guidelines, despite knowing the science behind lung disease. Aristotle would call this a lack of phronesis, a well-informed but foolish person. Number 3. Enlightenment rationalism, the failure of reason. For Enlightenment thinkers like Kant and Descartes, reason was the paramount human faculty. Kant was a German Enlightenment philosopher, active in the 18th century between 1724 and 1804. René Descartes was a French philosopher, mathematician, and scientist, active during the 17th century between 1596 and 1650. Stupidity, from this perspective, can be seen as a failure of reason, a mind that cannot logically process information, that falls prey to prejudice or superstition, or that is incapable of critical thought. It's the individual who rejects evidence, clings to unfounded beliefs, and resists rational argument, effectively operating outside the realm of enlightened understanding. Example: during the COVID-19 pandemic, some individuals denied the virus's existence despite overwhelming scientific evidence. They rejected masks, vaccines, and medical advice, relying instead on internet conspiracy theories. In Enlightenment terms, this is stupidity as irrationalism, the conscious rejection of logic and reason. Number 4. Existentialism's anguish of freedom, the abdication of choice. Existentialism is a philosophical movement that focuses on the individual's experience of freedom, choice, and meaning in an often indifferent or absurd universe. Existentialists like Jean-Paul Sartre believed that humans are condemned to be free, burdened with the responsibility of creating their own meaning. Sartre was a French existentialist philosopher, playwright, and novelist, active in the 20th century between 1905 and 1980. He was also politically active and famously declined the Nobel Prize in Literature. Stupidity, in this context, can be interpreted as an abdication or rejection of this freedom, a refusal to engage with the existential burden of choice. It's the person who passively accepts societal dictates, avoids making difficult decisions, or blames external forces for their predicament, thereby living an inauthentic life. Example: a middle manager in a morally dubious corporation justifies harmful business practices by saying, "I'm just following orders." Sartre would argue this person is abdicating their freedom and responsibility, choosing stupidity by refusing to make a moral stand. Number 5. The social construction of stupidity. Collective blindness. Michel Foucault argued that knowledge is not a neutral entity, but is intertwined with power. He believed, as many contemporary thinkers do, that stupidity is often socially constructed. Foucault was a French philosopher, historian, and social theorist, active in the 20th century between 1926 and 1984. He's often associated with post-structuralism and critical theory. What is considered foolish in one culture or time might be deemed normal, or even wise, in another. Stupidity, therefore, can be a form of collective blindness, a societal agreement to ignore certain truths or adopt particular, often irrational behaviors. This can manifest as mob mentality, widespread misinformation, or the unquestioning adherence to harmful ideologies. Example: for decades, doctors in the U.S. dismissed women's reports of chronic pain as hysteria or anxiety. This wasn't individual ignorance, it was systemic stupidity, reinforced by patriarchal assumptions about gender and emotion. Foucault would call this a product of discursive power. Stupidity might seem simple on the surface, but sometimes it's deeper, even philosophical. Kind of changes how we view it, right? That's it for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Stay safe.